I think millennial moms in general represent inclusion.
How do you walk that line between your own personal standards and not being judgmental when it comes to like the protection of how you want to raise your child?
Honesty. Like I always tell my moms, like, as long as you live in your truth, nobody can hold it against you. So important for my kids to see me go for my goals. Like, how in the world can I sit down and tell you how important it is for you to go for your goals and do what you want to do, and then I don't do it? Because ultimately we all know that people are going to go off what you do, not what you say.
Millennials have seen a lot in our short spin on this earth. And I guess you can add pandemic to that list now. Since we were children, it seems like every 3 years something changes. Some new study shows up, some new technology, something that completely flips everything that we've known upside down. Now we live in this incredible era where dreams are at your fingertips and education is more accessible than it's ever been. Yet, fear and anxiety are the highest they've been as well, because the curtain of denial has been pulled from in front of us, and we finally see reality for what it's become: reckless freedom. And the question is, how do you manage to be a mother during this time of incredible opportunity for yourself, but great risk to the seed you're supposed to protect? So Brittany Scott from Millennial Moms Digest, would you please enter stage right? She's bringing this generation of women together, and hopefully they can find balance in that. Because if Generation X was the spark, then this generation could be the flame that lights the world.
When I first created it, it was just for millennial moms, and ultimately I do cater to millennial moms, but I find myself being more inclusive than anything, because motherhood, for one, it is a niche like subset of women, but there are so many women in that, and something about us just all being a mother connects us all. So these resources and this platform can be really applicable to millennial moms or whatever generation of motherhood that you're in. It's a platform for women to come to be able to talk to one another, to find support, to be able to speak, like I said, safely about motherhood, about their families, about their children. One of our major goals is to make sure that moms have those resources when they need somebody to trust, whether it just be for a night out, daycare, drop-in care. And it's really a blessing because so many of the moms within the group have their own child care facilities and their own child care businesses. So they get the chance to obviously get a reputable daycare suggestion and things of that nature. But also you can bond with the owner of the daycare that your child is going to be going to. You can meet other parents who have kids that are attending that same daycare, and y'all can talk.
So what do you think worked from the older generations, and what do you try not to practice as far as with you being a mother and stuff?
I think the good thing about older generations of mothers is that with anything, with the house, with the relationship, I think they laid a great foundation. I think older generations really show us what it means to love your child. I think when you look at past generations of mothers, you see a lot of hardworking mothers, whether they were single, married. In older generations, they usually have more kids. So you see mothers that are raising more than just 5 or 6 kids, and they still maintain their household, and they still are involved in A, B, C, and D. So we see a really good foundation of kind of the commitment and the overall perseverance that goes into being a mother. And I think what I try to stray away from, not to be so judgmental and not so quick to write things off as what I think they may be, or write them off as wrong, because all of us are ignorant to something. So yeah, my kid is 2, so obviously I'm not a crusader for knowing everything about motherhood.
what are some of the challenges that like you and that you even with you talking with different mothers in this millennial generation, what do you find some of the different challenges that have kind of come about through trying to protect your kids from so much information?
Like I said, honesty is the best policy. So while I'm not sitting Zaria down to show her an R-rated movie, like when situations do come about, I just explain it to her in the best way possible. I don't want to protect her from information. Like, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more powerful you are out here. And, that way nobody can really get over on you with anything if you know. Millennial parents, they're so different. Like I was saying, you have a lot more interracial couples, so that's a conversation there. You have couples that are non-traditional, so i.e. homosexual couples that are in the LGBT community. So you have these more diverse couples and within a millennial community. So with that, obviously you're gonna have more diverse kids, and so it kind of just opens you up. And that's one thing that I really like, is that millennials are able to have those diverse and seemingly awkward conversations with their kids without it being awkward.
Are there certain conversations where you're just golly, do they need to know this?
Yeah.
So or is it one of those things where it's as it comes about, if they ask?
I think it's one of those things as it comes about then you talk about it. But sometimes with kids, they surprise you, and it's things you wouldn't even think that they're thinking about, they're asking you about, and then you are faced with my God, do we need to have this conversation right now? But then it's kind of I guess if you're asking about it, then we do need to have the conversation.
How hard is it to be a mom in this day and age?
Having a kid and being a parent is really fun and really easy. And see, that's what gets people, They see the kids and they see the cute pictures and stuff, and they're it's not that bad, or it's not that hard. The kid is not the hard part. They'll give you a run for their money, but for me, it's everything else that goes into it. One of my favorite writers, Shonda Rhimes, she wrote Grey's Anatomy and Scandal, things of that nature. But when she was talking about in her book, A Year to Yes, about being a mother and also a businesswoman and all the other titles that she has in her life, she's basically saying, if you see me somewhere, I'm most definitely lacking in others. So I tell moms, if you see me posting and I'm at a mom's conference, I'm lacking with time with my child, you know what I'm saying? If I'm with Zaria, then I'm lacking in time in the group. There is going to be that, you're going to have to sacrifice somewhere.
What's that? B. Why'd you break B? Because I want to find another one. Oh, okay.
It takes a village to raise a kid, but it also seems there's a bunch of raping and pillaging going on as well nowadays.
Oh my God.
So,
encouraging.
Yes, it's just ridiculous. But that's happening a lot, and it's happening within your own freaking people, and your own people are hurting them. But it takes a village to raise. So how in the world do you do that in today's day and age?
A village, when you have a child, is a luxury. We use that whole quote, it takes a village to raise a child, as if that's something that moms are entitled to, or that's something that they automatically get. But moms having a community is truly a luxury. A lot of moms now, I guess one thing with us being millennials, and once you have your own kid, it's almost kind of a flashback of your entire childhood, and you start thinking about all these situations that you kind of skimmed through, and thank God I made it out alive type thing.
Yeah.
Where now in those situations, your kid may be in and they may not make it out alive. So it's so it's really crazy. And so especially my new moms, they have so much anxiety. Like you said, sometimes it can be the closest people to you. I don't want my kid around my dad for X, Y, and Z because of these things that happen to me, and I don't want my kid being exposed to that. And kind of just, you really learn kind of what it takes to have the discernment to protect someone else's life.
So you talk about co-parenting, you talked about that before, and how there's a lot of single moms and stuff like that. One thing I have noticed is that a lot of men's roles have been changing as well. So sometimes there can be some mothers who can try to keep their kid away from their fathers and stuff like that. How have you been able to work with mothers more so with that, or with you and your child's father, and to be able to even adjust to the changing roles inside of men?
I think that's just also another trademark of millennials. I think millennial moms were kind of just it's nice that you go out and work, but when you come home, you now have to clock into being a dad too. Like, you not about to just get no hot meal on the table and later go to bed and I'm just gonna be up all night with that baby. And so, and like, I feel like there's a big like misconception, I guess, from TV and social media that that's kind of like what men do and that's how they provide. But I think just really opening up the conversation and millennial couples having a conversation about how men can support this family more than just how it's considered financially, how you support your family emotionally, how you support your wife during her pregnancy, afterwards, whatever kind of condition that may be. Even just seeing things on social media, you see dads like attending their daughters' ballet classes, letting their daughters paint their nails, and kind of just breaking down those stereotypes of what it looks like to really support your kids and be there for them and just be present.
Do you find that as an adjustment for different mothers, especially in this generation, especially if they didn't grow up with that type of parenting from your father?
It's a big adjustment and an eye-opener, and also one of those things that you could probably talk about it and like think about what you would do in that situation, but you really don't know until you get in that situation. I think with fathers, it's like they get a bad rep, but fathers, they have a hard job. Like, I tell Zara's dad all the time, like, I do not envy you. Like, because you have a man with a family and they think just that you're a man with a family. You know, like, you need to provide and you need to figure out how to do that and keep your household, in order and keep everyone in there happy. And that's no easy job with mothers or fathers. That's another thing that I try to portray in the Millennial Moms group, that it's not like a competition. While moms are everything, dads are too. And like, even especially like my married moms, they talk about like how the role that like a mom and a dad play are so like they just mesh together so well, and how basically each person's role is important. Like, even if the dad he doesn't do hair or whatever, the little things that he does do, and not to say that they're little, but the things that he does do are important, because you go without them and it's like, what in the world?
It sounds like a lot of like your brand is more so around like transition and like these different changes in life. What's some advice you would give based off of your experience so far?
I think the advice I would give is to live in your truth. That's my advice. That's what I say to everybody. I think sometimes, regardless of how you step into motherhood, whether it was a situation you expected or not expected, there comes a moment where you kind of start to hide like little pieces of you or little pieces of your story. And those stories or those pieces that people hide, somebody needs to hear those. Like, that's going to help somebody. So live in your truth and be confident in the fact that wherever you are on your journey is literally exactly where you're supposed to be.